My name is Afshari. I'm a strategic product manager at OSIsoft. What I will talk about during the next 45 minutes is sharing some details with you about Pi system for critical operations, Pi Server 2018 SP2, what we are doing to support your patching, deployment, testing, what's new with the Pi server. There are a lot of details, and there's a lot of information that I'm going to share with you. And I will try to break it down and open it up for maybe 2 or 3 questions while we're going through this discussion, and then take more questions at the end if you have time. For those of you who attended the day one talk, day one, it was like about 10, 15 minutes. I showed just some high-level details. For this one, I'm going to dive into more details. So those of you who are Pi admins for your Pi system, either you have a very complex system and that's what you do day in, day out, or you manage and do the administrative work for your Pi system, do the upgrades, do the installations, do the third-party application developments on top of your day job. You know that when a new version of the Pi system comes out, for it to make its way to your Pi system, the only step is not deployment. Your boss might think like that. Your data users might think like that it was a new version. Why don't I have it? It's just a deployment. That's not the case. There are more steps involved. You need to test and validate every change that was included in the new version, making sure that after the upgrade, after applying all of those changes, your Pi system stays intact, all of the third-party applications you have built on top of it stay intact, and every detail needs to get tested and validated and assessed. And then for that, testing has really so many steps involved. It's not just a simple procedure. The Pi system architecture has got more and more complex. Your Pi system has grown over the course of years. You have more assets. You have more sites. So there are more testing steps involved. The deployment, there are many parts of the Pi system that need to get upgraded, and those new versions need to get applied. So it's not just a few clicks and a simple process. And then for every testing, you also need to do need to have a test environment. Because if you do the upgrade in production and then things do not work, then that's not a test, really. You need to have that dedicated test environment, and that test environment needs resources, needs maintaining. All of these are very intense when it comes to resources. And what we have seen in reality, a lot of our customers stay versions behind, even though we release versions over and over, like frequently. Now, this is probably how much effort it took you maybe 2 years ago to keep your Pi system up to date. Now it's getting even more complex. More pieces are getting added. You have more data users. And then on top of that, this is not just a one-time change that you need to test. It happens over and over. There's a frequency to it. So what we have seen, you probably end up not doing the testing, validation, and upgrade. As a result of it, maybe you, not as frequently as we release new versions. You end up doing it maybe every 2 years, maybe every 1 year, maybe every 5 years, maybe every 10 years. We have seen all sorts of versions being popular within our customer install base. So our goal at OSIsoft is not just keep the Pi system up to date, but keep your Pi system current. Because your critical operations, on day one, we heard about it, depends on all of those security issue fixes in the latest versions, all of those bug fixes in the latest versions. Your critical operations depends on it. So if you end up staying versions behind, you are making a compromise that's very costly. And we want to help you keep your system up to date on those aspects that are critical, while you don't have to allocate any more resources, while you don't have to spend any more time, and even at times maybe even help you put less resources on it. How are we doing that? This is something I showed on day one. These are the 3 pillars of our Pi system development that we are focusing on. The first one is hardening the core of the Pi system. That is when our focus is on security and reliability. These are the 2 aspects that are non-negotiable for your critical operations. You need to make sure they're in place. All the fixes for security issues, whatever has been identified. And that's the focus on hardening the core of the Pi system has been our focus for Pi Server 2018 SP2, which I will talk about in a few slides. And Pi Server 2018 SP2 has been the most secure and most up-to-date Pi server and most reliable Pi server that we have released so far. The second bucket is easing the management, giving you more control over your deployments, so that if you have a new asset, if you want to start collecting new data from new data sources, spinning up that environment, that Pi server, that Pi system does not take a lot of resources from you. And the third one is extending the reach and value of your data. That's where we are focusing on getting you more tools, more features, more capabilities for collecting data from wherever it is. Leaving no data behind, it's our pervasive data collection focus. It is focusing on integrating your Pi system data with all of the other systems that you might use that are outside of the realm of Pi software. We are focusing on releasing and adding more capabilities to our Pi integrated suite of products. And also giving you more tools when it comes to accessing your Pi, the data that's in your Pi system, using, if you're a developer, if you want to develop more applications, we are focusing on our Pi Web API, our developer technologies, and giving you more capabilities. The third bucket is where we are emphasizing and focusing a lot. And this is where your resources, your team's time should be mostly spent, because that's where innovation happens. That's where the projects get done. That's where people will be able to get access to the data you have. Your users will get access to the data you have. You will collect all the data. So that's one of the main focuses. During this talk, I'm going to talk about the first two aspects. And the third one, there are a lot of other talks around Pi integrators, about pervasive data collection, which is Pi connectors, edge data store interfaces. There are lots of other talks. If you missed any of them during today or previous days, they will be recorded, and you can go back and watch. Before moving on, when I talk about the core of the Pi system, what do I mean? The core of the Pi system, and you can think about your own Pi system, that is where all of your testing and validation practices are the most strict when it comes to the steps they have and the rules that you have around it. The core of the Pi system is where the downtime for that piece, the tolerance that you have for the downtime of it is the lowest, if there is any tolerance for the downtime. So you can think of your own Pi system and see where that core might be for you. What we have seen in reality with our customers and talking to a lot of you, that core mainly consists of the Pi server and some data collection pieces, mainly Pi interfaces. So when I refer to the core of the Pi system, I'm mostly talking about Pi server and Pi interfaces. So the first bucket, the first group, the first focus was hardening the core of the Pi system, which is focusing on reliability and security. The focus on reliability and security is something that OSIsoft has been doing for many years. We know how critical it is, and we have been including fixes to critical issues, software bugs, and also security issues with every release. But also in every release of Pi server, for example, we also include a lot of features, a bunch of other bug fixes that you might not necessarily need them or want to have them in your system, but they're bundled with the whole new version, and you have to do the testing on them if you want to get to all those critical bug fixes as well. So with Pi Server 20 SP2, what we have done was that our main focus was releasing with this latest version the quality fixes to Pi Server, meaning focusing mostly on the bug fixes in general, and focusing mostly on the security aspects. This release, this version, which was released on this Monday, comes with a lot of improvements, not just in reliability and security, also in performance and usability. So it has been mostly about quality of this release. And what we are also going to do is support this Pi server version for an extended period of time, think of many years, with only fixes to security issues and critical bug fixes. So only giving you the changes that anyone in this room or anyone who's using the Pi system for the critical operations would want to apply that. And there will be no compromise, no negotiation over, well, I will wait for 2 years. No, there is no waiting. This needs to be applied. These are critical issues. Think of like archive subsystem, like archive corruption or data loss. That type of criticality I'm talking about. It's not just any software bug. Later I will also talk about the interfaces. Now that we are on Pi server, I want to show what we have available today on the Pi server. By show of hands, how many of you are new to using the Pi system? Most of you, welcome. Most of you are very familiar with the Pi system, and especially Pi server. This slide is very busy, and I left it busy intentionally because Pi server has been in the making for 30 plus years. It already comes with a lot of capabilities. And when I talk about Pi server, I'm talking about all aspects of it. I'm talking about data archive, I'm talking about asset framework, I'm talking about everything that is within that bundle of Pi server. It already comes with a lot of capabilities. And I know these days in the presentations, taking pictures of the slide decks is good, so I don't feel bad putting a lot of text, because I know you will take a picture and look at it later if you want. These are all the capabilities of the Pi server that are available to you today. A lot of capabilities when it comes to storage of your time series data, future data, and these are all the improvements that we have made to Pi server over the course of years. When it comes to assets and metadata, how you can add context to that time series data that you have. And also calculations and events, that's one of very popular capabilities of Pi server that our users love and use a lot. That also we have, over the course of years, there were many capabilities that we added to it. With Pi server 2018 SP2 and the focus that it has on critical operations, some of the improvements that have been included, we can check the release document, and it has the list of all of the bug fixes, which is long, and enhancement improvements, which is long. I only picked a few of them. The focus has been, it comes with a lot of improvements in reliability, performance, usability. There have been a lot of improvements to it. One change that you will notice is that also Pi Web API, we separate that from install kit, the integrated install kit of Pi server, because for Pi Web API, we want to continue adding a lot more capabilities to it, which the upgrade cadence is not going to be necessarily the same as upgrade cadence of your Pi server. So we have separated the two, and you will notice that. But you will be able to upgrade your Pi Web API separately, download that install kit, and apply it separately. And for the future of Pi server 2018 SP2, we are looking at supporting it for an extended period of time for those changes that I mentioned. And those changes, not only we are limiting the scope of that change to only the critical aspects, we are also providing that change to you in the form of a patch instead of a full upgrade. What does that mean? For us, we're still working on all of the details of the patch. That's the thing that we are working on now that we released Pi server 2018 SP2. Patch is something that will fix only that area that a critical bug was identified. For example, if it was in your AF client, it will only touch the AF client. It will not touch the rest of your Pi server at all. And we will also, if it's fixing a critical bug, we will document exactly what were the fixes, what was changed, and what was the fix that we included. This way you will know it. If it's for your QA, you will be able to share it with your team. You will be able to assess it more quickly without spending a lot of time. If it is for a security issue, we have an ethical disclosure policy, because for security it's a little bit more tricky. If you disclose too much, everybody will be at risk. So we have a policy that we will follow in sharing those details with you. I have a call to action for everybody. Those of you who maybe think of all of the assets, all of the sites that you have that have Pi servers that are many versions behind. We know a lot of our users still use Pi server 2012. We know a lot of our users use 2015. We know a lot of you are up to date on 2018, so that's perfect, but not everybody has all of the resources, or not everybody can keep that complex architecture up to date. This approach is to help you keep it up to date. Look into PyServer 2018 SP2. Start looking into upgrading it today. I know it's not going to happen. A lot of times that I talk to some of you, you're like, OK, this is great. I will start planning it, and by 2020, we will have it installed. So I know it takes time. So start it today. Start doing the testing. Start looking at all of the things that have changed, and start making the plans for your upgrades. If you were planning to do a major upgrade soon, and you were planning on doing it to 2018, 2018 SP2 is a good version for you to consider. So look into that. I will show you this. I don't know if you had been to other talks. I will assume you haven't. This is our new approach to our roadmap in general, not just for PyServer, for all of our products. And what we are showing and sharing with you are grouped in 3 buckets. We love 3. Everything is grouped in 3. Developing now, considering next, and researching future. Developing now are the aspects that are either were like recently released, like PyServer 2018 SP2, and you can look at the 2 that have the banner of release, or soon will become available to you within like a few months. What we are working on next for PyServer is that giving you more flexibility around upgrades and patch applications. So that's going to be the main focuses for us when it comes to PyServer. And the other aspects that we are looking at, on day 1, Greg LeBlanc, VP of our product team, talked about how having manageable systems and software is one of our main focuses when it comes to our engineering. When it comes to PyServer and pretty much a lot of our other on-premise products, that manageability is a main focus. Focusing on easing the deployment is one of our focuses, and that's something that we are going to look into when it comes to the future of PyServer. So when I talked about the core of the Pi system, I said it's PyServer and the data collections, which is mainly the Pi interfaces. We are having, similar to the development approach that we are having to PyServer, for a select group of our most popular interfaces. These are the top 7, PyOPC DA, PyOPC HDA, Pi2Pi, RDBMS, Modbus, UFL, and DMP3, these 7. We are going to have the same development approach to a version of it. And we're also including something new with these interfaces, which this is a work in progress. We are adding a new capability for the interfaces to natively emit the health data for the interfaces. You probably are all familiar with the UniInt health tags that in interfaces you can create in them. This one uses the OSIsoft messaging format technology, so it's or a capability or messaging. It uses OMF, and with that, what it can do, it can simultaneously send that health-related data of Pi interfaces to the on-premise Pi server as well as OCS. This is the first step for us in looking at giving you more capabilities around monitoring your system and giving you more capabilities around managing your system and making sure the system is running and everything is intact. The good thing about having the capability in OCS is that if you have different sites that are geographically separate, and you might not be able to get the data, health-related data, UniInt health data from all of those sites, in OCS you will be able to see the overall, the global view of the health of your Pi interfaces or the health of the data flow. For the OMF, right now we are, so with the OSIsoft messaging format, another capability is that similar to, I would say, like our connectors, for UniInt health tags, you would have to go and create the tags or select it and it will create the tags for you. This one, once you configure the OMF health messaging in your Pi interfaces, the ones that have this capability, it will automatically create the tags for you and also create the AF database for you. The AF database looks something like this. Right now, we're only considering 2 tags. These are you might think that 2 compared to all of the union health tags that you have, that's a long list, might not be enough. We have been in our demos internally, we have been able to getting a lot of insight from those 2 tags. And the 2 tags are, when is the next message health data that I'm supposed to get? I will go back to show you what the 2 tags are. One is, when is the next health data that I'm supposed to get, which is more like similar to heartbeat, making sure that the system is running. And the other one is device status, which is related to your data source. This is the AF hierarchy. It will create the tags for you. It will have some metadata associated with it as well. So with this approach to Pi server and your interfaces, and in general for the upgrading of the Pi server, this is the amount of effort that you need to spend today. Of course, this is just schematics, just to show you, just a visual to show you there's a lot of steps, and I'm going to do a comparison. With removing that time-based or schedule-based release of the Pi server, and instead giving you a condition-based release of the patches, which is whenever we identify a critical bug, we will fix it for you. But if we do not identify a critical bug, if you do not identify a critical bug and report it to us, you don't need to make any changes to your Pi server. It's running well. If we identify, we will apply a patch and give it to you. So the frequency of change is going to be much less. And then with the changing, with the modification to the scope change of all of those new patches, and giving you only the patch, which is just a few maybe changes, not a lot of improvements, we are also removing some of the burden of testing and also deployment from you. So overall, it should reduce the amount of effort that you're spending. The next thing I'm going to talk about is moving to the second bucket of easing the deployment and improving the manageability. Before that, I would like to take three. We love 3. Let's take 3 questions. So if we can have the mic, and we have questions here. So we have 1, we have 2, 1 more. We don't have to have 3. 3, all right. Here. Thank you, Steve.
So with the health information that you're talking about, can you comment, confirm whatever I've heard about the future of Pi System Directory?
Sure. I thought about putting that trap for myself there, and I know that I wanted to have that question asked to answer it. Pi System Directory, with the 2018 version of Pi Server, we added Pi System Directory. For those of you who have been using it, it provides a lot of capabilities and very good insight into what is your install base, what are the different versions that you have installed, what are the different machines that it has been installed on. With 2018 SP2, we had a look at Pi System Directory and how it would fit into our vision of making the Pi system more manageable. And even though it was providing a good collection of capabilities to you, overall, it came with publishers that you need to install on every machine that you need to monitor. All of those need to get upgraded and managed. Ports need to get opened. A lot of those are not even accessible. You need to be able to send someone. Overall, we did a fresh look at the architecture and the design that we had, the solution we had to meet that challenge that you're facing in managing your system. And we realized in the long run, it's not a manageable solution. It will add to that overhead of manageability. So we had to make this hard decision of go for the short-term pain for a long-term gain, and we decided not to continue the development. What is included with Pi Server 2018 SP2? You can use it, but going forward, that's not supported. There was one here in the front.
This is Mike Hines with ExxonMobil. So with this new focus on OMF and Pi Web API servers serving as an endpoint for that data ingress for the health points and others, does that mean that our future deployments are going to have much heavier focus on Pi Web API, obviously? And is OMF sort of replacing Unient in this context? Or?
No. So what the aspect of OMF is only focused on the health data of interfaces. For the production data of the interfaces, like collecting all of your, I don't know, like the power consumption connected to your PLC, to any of the control, like any of the data sources that you have, it will still use the UniInt capability and the UniInt framework for collecting that production data. The only change, the only aspect that will use OMF is health data of the interfaces. Still, even if you're using the UniInt health data, it's not going to override that, because the OMF health data is not even going to necessarily be written to the same Pi server that your interface data goes to. Because I need a whiteboard here. So the interfaces will get the data from data sources and send it to the Pi server that is supposed to receive that production data. For the OMF, you need to select the OMF endpoint. It can be either the OCS, or it can go to a different Pi server where it has the Pi Web API installed on it. So the health data could completely be separated from your interface production data. If you want, you can bring the Pi Web API OMF endpoint, install it on that Pi server that receives the interface data, and they all go to the same place. But normally, people want to separate it. So you can have it on another machine that has the Pi Web API installed on it, associated with the Pi server that goes there, and all of the OMF messages, health coming from your connector, anything else can go into that Pi server. We had one question here too, Steve, thank you.
I think part of my question was answered. It's related to this OMF business. A little bit new for some of us. I have 2015 R2, and there was no OMF at that time. We also have high availability. You mentioned these two tags. We also get to pick up which is primary, which is secondary on our interface right now. So we can continue having that data, and I can choose to use OMF or not use OMF for the additional. Is that correct?
That was a question that came up. The OMF health data is still work in progress, and we're still figuring out a lot of details around it. But that was a question that was also asked from us at the booth, and I don't know the answer right now. I need to go talk to our development team who are working on it and see what are the details when it comes to high availability. But if this is the path we go forward for, high availability is something that we will consider, for sure. So again, this OMF health message is not going to interfere with the operational data and how your Pi interfaces run at all for collecting your data and sending it to the Pi server. That will continue. The OMF configuration and OMF health data configuration is a separate one. For that one, if you have a high availability, the health data should naturally also identify that high availability. That is something that we're looking into. I don't know what the status is. I don't know where we are. I need to talk to the development team. So I will be able to share more information with you.
Since I had only half a question, I can get one more. Yes?
I guess that's a yes.
Is there one or two slides that you guys have prepared for us to sell to our management, the effort involved and the desire to go ahead with the upgrade? Is there one selling slide? I know in the big...
We do not have any right now. Let's, after this talk, I would like to chat with you and see what are those talking points that you would like to be addressed so that that conversation with your management goes successfully. So let's chat about that. All right, I'm going to move forward. With the easing the deployment and improving manageability, we talked about, we are also, again, covering it in three aspects. The first one is providing you patches instead of full upgrades. The second thing that we are doing is, and let me give you a story before going into the details of it, is, all right, yeah, we have the Pi Server 2018 SP2. It's the most reliable and the most secure one that is available up to date. Going forward, the changes are going to be in the form of patches, but even a patch needs to be assessed and needs to be tested. We have heard from a lot of you that you would like some guidance from us in doing testing. And what a new initiative that we have started are putting together a testing framework and a set of test scripts that you will be able to assess the new patches or even assess the upgrade to PyServer 2018 SP2. I will dive into that a little bit more, and the team who's been working on these test scripts, some of them are in the room today. So if you have more questions, we will be able to have that conversation later. So this is helpful for assessing upgrade to PyServer 2018 SP2, assessing the patches that you apply. They're also very helpful for assessing your Patch Tuesday. So if something, some other software changes, you will be able to run this test and make sure your Pi system stays intact. What are these tests? What are these test scripts? They're a set of lightweight it's a lightweight testing framework and a set of test scripts. This is still a work in progress, and we're defining all the details. They're easy to run. They're end-to-end tests, meaning it's not going to just focus on one subsystem or one aspect. It looks at the entire Pi system that you have, including PyServer, and do some maybe functional tests, like can I create new tags? Can I delete tags? Can I create new attributes? Can I backfill the new analyses that I created? Or do some maybe more IT type of test. Can I connect to this machine? Can I make sure that the server is running, the service is running? This type of tests are included, and then the result is going to be in form of an HTML file. I had recorded this one. I showed it this morning. I will show you again. This is running the test scripts. This is a recorded demo of it. So you will open PowerShell, and there's a PowerShell script that you will run. So I'm running that script that goes through all of the steps. I have already identified and specified to it what's the name of my Pi server is, what's the name of the AF server, what's the analysis service. So all of that has already been specified to it. The test will create an AF database and will create a set of tags, a set of attributes, analysis, a template. It will ask me, do you want me to create that AF database for testing? I said yes. So now it's going through creation of that AF database. And all of those tests are going to be done against that AF database that it already has familiarity with. Some aspects need to be downloaded for it. You can stop by the booth, Pi System for Critical Operations, and get more details on it. The framework that we use for the testing is on XUnit. We can also share more details with you on that. Once it builds the AF database and downloads all the required artifacts and pieces that are needed, it will start running the tests, and it will go through them. As one of my colleagues says, the best test demo is the one that fails. So that red line that you're seeing, that's a failed demo. It will go through all of the steps of the test. And then at the end, it will ask me, do you want to keep that AF database that was created for testing or no? And all of the associated tags and everything that was created, I can select. I said, yes, I want you to delete it, and it was deleted. The report is going to be included in the test results. It's in the form of an HTML report. On top, it will show if something failed, it will put it on top. It will include all the details for you. And for the rest of the tests that were done, this is still like a preliminary part of the project that is ongoing. So some tests were done on PyData Archive, some tests were done on AF, some were on analysis service. One thing that it also wanted to check was the notification service, and I did not have that installed. So it could not find that service, and that's the error message that I got, that I couldn't connect to this service and check if it's running or not. So it made sure it's listed. You will be able to, in this report, find all of the details and get that report to make sure if the test passed or failed. Some more details. The packages, the aspects that I was talking about for downloading, I have listed them here. I'm not going to share much more details of it here or getting into more technical discussions. As I said, the team are here, and also we have the booth. We can have that conversation going. What it will do, it will download those packages that are needed. It will import the database. It will compile that XUnit test that it needs to run tests, ask you if you want to delete it. If you want to keep that AF database, you can, and then it will give you the test results. This is an initiative that is relatively new. This is still work in progress. We want to offer something that is helpful to you, that brings value to you. So make sure if you were not able to talk to us, come to the booth and share with us what your testing practices are, what your testing requirements are, if this brings value to you at this stage or not. How would you want it to see this one change to bring you some value? Make sure to go to our feedback portal. It's feedback.osisoft.com. Our engineering team, product managers, check this every day. You will be able to make a request there or a suggestion. Other people can see it, they can vote, they can support your suggestion. And using that, we will be able to see how much of a need is for a specific feature or a specific requirement. For the testing, there is a form, there's a section called manageability. Make sure to go there, use, if your suggestion is already there, make sure to vote for it, support it. If not, create a new one. But we also have a lot of other aspects in that feedback.osisoft.com for all of our other products. So make sure to know and bookmark this page on your machine. This is very helpful, and we would want to hear from you. The last aspect of easing deployment and improving manageability is, so far we talked about limiting the frequency of updates, limiting the scope of changes to the absolute critical ones, and then giving you support for doing some testing to assess that upgrade. But testing, we talked about in the beginning, needs a testing environment, and not everybody has that. We again had many requests on what can OSIsoft do to support all of you in spinning up maybe a test environment quickly. And I'm just using the test environment as one example of the use of this, the deployment templates and scripts that I'm going to talk about. You can use it for other purposes as well. Anything but production. These are not meant for a production environment, and I will tell you why we say they're not good for production environment. You can use them for maybe a proof of value, some projects that you're running, and you want to quickly spin up an environment and use the Pi system in it. So for that, we are sharing some deployment templates, and along with it, some installation scripts that will spin up VMs in some cloud platforms and also silently install the Pi system on it. Right now, the two cloud platforms that we are looking at supporting and providing these templates and scripts for are Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. These are the templates are for quickly spinning up maybe the storage, the compute environment, just basically creating those VMs in the cloud. And then the PowerShell scripts are going to run and also install the Pi system silently. The architectures that we are working on for deploying that Pi system follow our best practices. One thing that I want to attract your attention to is that these are bring your own Pi server license. You need to go and bring that. Bring your own install kits, because we are including a lot of Pi system components there. Maybe at the moment you do not have license to all of them. And also, you need to have the subscription to those cloud platforms on your own. One of our partners was giving a talk, and he said he's not a big fan of showing architecture diagrams. But there's truth to it. I will show you something just so you get an idea of what we are looking at. It has high availability and follows our best practices. It has high availability when it comes to data archive, asset framework, analysis service. It has Pi Vision installed. It will have a machine for Web API. This is still a work in progress, so maybe what we end up releasing at the end, the architecture will have some changes compared to this one, but overall it will focus on our best practices, which is high availability. This is for AWS, and this one is an example that we are working on when it comes to Azure. Again, high availability, having private networks, being on a private subnet, and also being on a public subnet. The core aspects of the Pi system are in the private aspect, and the rest are going to be included in the public one. One note, the reason I say these are not meant for production is that we designed these with, like some service accounts are going to get created. The configurations that are included are based on what we considered and our team considered as some of the best practices. And those chances are not following some of your IT rules. So you need to take these as the start of, as one of colleagues says, a conversation, starting point for you to be able to deploy it quickly, then maybe make some modifications to it so that it fits those standards that you have at your site. Just to bring everything together, with the PyServer 2018 SP2 and the way we are supporting it, we reduce the effort to some level more. With the test environment and also the test scripts that we are supporting, again, relatively speaking, it's going to reduce the amount of effort that you spend in order to keep your Pi system up to date today. One aspect for the future of the entire Pi system that we are focusing on, not just PyServer, is really focusing on the deployment part, making it as short as possible, making that activity as easy as possible for you. Just for the sake of leaving you with what we started from, these are the three focuses of our development when it comes to the Pi system: hardening the core of the Pi system, easing the management, and extending the reach and value of the data. Don't forget about feedback.osisoft.com. That is where we say it. If it's not on the feedback portal, it didn't happen. Make your voice heard. You will be able to see what everyone is. We will be able to see our colleagues will be able to see what were all of the requests that came from your organization, and you will also be able to see how your requests will progress, what is the status update, and whether it goes into development, whether it has been added. You will get all of those status updates as well. With that, I think we have a few minutes for a few questions. Maybe taking 3 more. So Luke, over there. Steve.
Good morning. I'm Luke Briscoe from Syncrude, Canada. What if you already have your own test system? Will these scripts work just the same? Can you adjust the scripts or modify the scripts to run on your test environment?
For the first version, we are not. So the question was, can you modify the test scripts? And for the first version, we are just trying to have a set out-the-door release so that you can start playing. If modifying is what you would like to see, make sure it's on the feedback portal. And I believe you have already stopped by the booth and talked to the team. So yes, perfect. Thank you, Luke. We have one, Steve, here. Thank you. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Mike Study with DST Controls. I had a quick question regarding the testing scripts. Are they designed to test a system that's already deployed after it's been upgraded, or is it mainly about testing against a future version?
When you say testing against a future version?
So a version that is released, if we do want to, I guess the essence of my question is, in order to fully patch these tests, or fully test these patches rather, is the upgrade to be done in the cloud and then run the test against that upgrade?
So yeah, this is more, you can do this test, like the way the tests work is that there is certain steps, certain things that you check. Before the upgrade, they work fine. After the upgrade, you get the same result. That's normally how the testing works. Like you have certain input, those that are like input-output. The things that are just checking, yeah, I can connect, maybe that's a different input-output. But if you give it an input, you want to have the same output before the upgrade and after the upgrade. So it can be done that way. It can also be used for a fresh installation. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Okay, cool.
Thank
We can have more discussions after the team. I think this is the last question we'll have. Oh, one more. Shane also.
Steve Sage, Nuclear Regulatory Commission. So from a security standpoint and the security patches you put in place, what did you use as your baseline, or what parameters or what industry best practices did you use to harden or lay out those security changes?
And this is something that our security team works on. It's not specific just to one industry, it's across all of our customers.
So you're not following industry best standards like STIGs or something like that are published to lock down and harden systems?
I'm not familiar with those, but it's not something that is specific to just one industry. It's looking at all of our customers and the best practices that we have when it comes to security. I can get more details and share with you when it comes to security, what are the rules that they follow. Chris or Steve, did you have any comments for the security to add?
I don't know what your specific rules, but we follow SDLC, so we're constantly doing threat modeling and all that. And as we build up those backlogs, that's what determines when we particularly find things. So I think we're well in line with that, but I'm not familiar with the specifics.
From a federal government perspective, they have to follow standard technical implementation guides, harden down systems for security environments.
Yeah.
And that's applied to all Windows platforms.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, I think we probably fall well in line with that. So.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, this is Shen from Sonka Energy. Right now we are using Managed Pi to send those hardware tag, device tag for each interface to a NOC support center. So right now you said for this new version you guys using you send a health data using OMF message. So is that a replacement for?
One reminder, NOC is for our enterprise agreement customers. It's not something for all of our customers. And this one is going to be what Managed Pi uses. The mechanism that uses is different from the OMF. So this is something that is new. Was that a question? Did I understand it correctly?
Yeah. What I want to ask is, do we need to set up separately?
No. For the NOC, the way it's working, it will work. Managed Pi, the way it's working, it will work. This is a new one that those who also do not have the NOC services will also be able to take advantage of. Sure. Thank you all for attending. I think we're at the end of our time. I will be here. I think there's a 15-minute break. If you have any more questions, I will be here to answer. Thank you.